What's wrong?
Nothing.
I don't think that's true.
So I wasn't able to download the lesson for today.
All right,
Every single lesson like from today on just shows class 1 on the top and nothing else. Well, it shows, I think, I don't know what's supposed to be lessons.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's really strange this session.
But I mean, you could at one point, right?
Last class, so today is what? Okay, so I was able to last class. This class, it just says class 1, upload a file inside the block settings. And when I do the little, reattach the asset, it doesn't do anything. And if I go over to the next class, it's the same thing, class 1, and it doesn't even show that I can download anything at all. Hold on. Well, if I click start this lesson, it won't allow me to even when I ask it to reattach the asset.
Well, let me look at it. Was anybody else able to download the chapter for tonight? Yeah, okay. Did you log out and try that, Christine? Log out and log back in?
I didn't today. Hold on. I hope it doesn't kick me out of the Zoom, which it didn't. Okay, so I've logged out and back in. Still no access.
I'll put it in the chat in a minute.
Thanks.
Chapter 5, right?
7.
Oh,
And
We're
I
on
can't.
7.
Oh, gosh.
oh, well, I've already, chapter 7?
Yes.
Oh, well, I have chapter 7, I think. Hold on. I have an awful lot of, oh.
Right? It's
Yeah,
7.
I can
Holly,
do
it's 7,
chapter
right?
7. I just can't do anything past chapter 7.
Yeah, I don't have the other ones uploaded yet.
Okay, that would be why then.
That would be why, Christine.
Okay, I'll be
All right.
fine.
Yes, tonight is 7.
Okay.
And I do have all the rest of them. I will just upload them all. I've just been doing it one at a time for some
Oh
odd
my
reason.
gosh. And I even already printed it at my other printer. Wow.
Ah, okay. Deep breaths. Where?
Everything.
I'm saying, where do you see it?
Up at the top. She's got her little logo icon face.
I don't
Let's
see it.
take it off for you. She doesn't have the screen is off. So
Oh,
it's showing your profile picture. That's the word I was looking for.
oh, see, I don't, for some reason, I don't see anything. If you're not on camera, it's just a black spot.
It's really weird.
But I thought she fixed that the other night.
Apparently not.
It's a setting thing for me? Oh, okay. Hang on.
I did, but clearly.
I don't see where it's a setting, but follow hopefully, no. Show non-video participants. Oh, look at that. Now I can see, and I can see Kim too. All right, awesome. Thank you, Lori. All right, so let's see. We have Holly's here, Lori's here, Kim's here, Christine's here, Georgie's here, Deanna's here, Deanna's here. Just gonna keep saying D, that's easier. Valerie is not gonna be here. Uh I think it's an A, huh? Marcy should be here.
Marcy will be here today.
Okey-doke. All right. All right, good. Okay. Who did we just lose? Oh, Lori.
Hey,
All right, I
Cheryl,
did.
sorry,
Yeah.
I don't want to be a pest for this because I got it 1 minute late in here, but I was trying to follow what Christine was saying. I'm looking in the platform, and on the drive, the most that I see is chapter 5. I don't see anything past chapter 5. I wonder if you uploaded those somewhere else other than in the drive.
So if you go to the actual lessons, do you see it?
In the class, in the courses, okay.
Yeah, so click on the course and then go to 7,
It would be
Class-
class 7, okay.
class 7. You
And
should see the chapter.
I see the thing, but it doesn't have the ability to link it. It says level 2, chapter 7 PDF. Maybe I need to click or start the lesson, right, to access it?
Yes, you have to start it.
Sorry, there. Yeah,
Okay.
got it, thanks.
All right. So I updated the schedule. I'm gonna share my screen actually. You guys can let me get the right one. Yeah. Okay. So let me share my screen. Oh, interesting. Did not let me. Oh, there it is. Okay, so I want one first. So I updated it to be 1 coaching session per class, except for, I'll show you the next set. Because I will have 6 from what we've already done and what we're going to finish out with. And the one-on-ones for the mentor coaching. So I'll have 6 for each of you. So I mean, we're running late anyway, and this way we have more time for the feedback and also to, for the lesson itself. So, so for tonight, we have Christine coaching D, and then no class next week. And then the week after that, Dee will coach Lori. I'm going to upload this, but I just want to show it real quick. And then,
I can't see the whole thing. I can only see from May 22nd over.
okay, well, okay, let me see if I can get the other one. You can see here, like on the 17th, we have 2 of them, but otherwise it's 1 each. And then the final exam day, everybody coaches that day. I will have that schedule on June 19th in the group mentoring. I'll go over. Actually, I might not even do that. I might just wait until the day of and give you your pairings. Let me see if I can pull up the other one because it's not letting me. Okay, can you see that now?
Mhm.
Oh, where did it go? There it is. Yeah, so here's
the last 2 weeks we do Tuesday, Thursday, is that correct? Because it looked like it said the 17th, the 19th, the 24th, and the 26th.
Yep. Let me pull that up.
I'm sorry.
Nope, that's okay. It's just it only lets me share one screenshot at a time, which is really weird. You know. Oh, I can just share my whole spreadsheet. Let me do it that way. That's probably easier. More of that stuff.
Holly wasn't here. Holly, can you hear?
I can now. My
Oh.
audio is going to my iPad.
You're home? Are you home now?
No,
No.
I'm in
Okay.
Charleston till Monday.
Okay.
Hmm.
There we go. Oh, does that match? Yeah, that matches. Okay, yeah. So we have the 5th. Of June is a Thursday, and then we have the 12th is a Thursday, and then we have the 17th and the 19th, which is Tuesday and Thursday. And then we have the 26th. That's the week of the 26th. That's your last one-on-one. That's not an actual class date. Okay. So really, it's only the 1 week that we have.
Oh, I'm good. I just want to make sure I make it. That's all.
And
Yeah.
And June 24, there's no class either, right?
No class June 24th.
Okay.
We have, oh, wait a minute. Why is that doing? Yeah,
June
that's right.
24th, there's class.
Mhm.
June 24th, there's class. That's our final performance evaluation. That's our last class. I thought you were saying the 22nd. Yeah, we have class on the 24th. And that's just the last class, one class for that week. The week before that, we have 2 classes. The Tuesday and Thursday, 17th and 19th. Actually, I'm just going to put these, I'm just going to put the, let me do it this way. Oops. Oh, 1 second. I'm just gonna put these in. 1 second. Sorry. My son's been having not a great day. Urgent things coming happening all day. Anyway, I gave you the 2 screenshots in the chat with the new schedules, and the dates are in there. And now the only other thing, and I don't want to confuse the situation, but because I spread out the course so much for 2 reasons. One, your mentoring has to happen over 3 months, right? 2, I was creating the course as we were doing the course, right? So that's all done now. Your mentoring still has to happen over 3 months, but technically, if everyone agreed, we could condense the course and just keep the mentoring out. If you all wanted to finish it sooner, because I'm flexible that way.
What
And
does, can you say more of what that would entail, doing the 2 things?
it would probably be where, first of all, I take back the 2 days, the 2 weeks that we're off, and we do a Tuesday, Thursday, or a Wednesday, Thursday, or something. I mean, I could calculate it. I didn't calculate it. This is just, oh, it's on my head here. So we would have to finish, let's see, after today, we have to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 regular classes. So we'll start there. So to do 6 regular classes and get that finished up quickly, we could do next Tuesday and Thursday would be 2. The following Tuesday and Thursday would be 4. And then the following Tuesday and Thursday would be 6. So that would be, what would that be? That would be, so if we did the 6th and the 8th, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that would put the classes done at the 22nd. And then on the 29th, we could do the final. And then you'd be done. Or no, we do the 27th and the 29th, your 3rd group mentoring, and then the final on the 20th. We could be done the classes by May 29th. And then we just have to, then your one-on-ones are, you schedule it, with a calendar link. So basically it would be Tuesdays and Thursdays for the rest of the month. And we'd be done the course.
What do you, I have a challenge with Tuesdays, and all of next week I'm in a conference. Will you be willing to, if we say yes to that, to excuse a few?
Well, you can miss 2 as long as you make it up.
Make it up, how?
You have to listen to the recordings and
Right.
answer a couple questions, but I mean, if that's your 2, that's fine.
So I'm the same. I've already missed one and I would miss a second. And then I'm out of the country starting on the 26th. So I would miss the final.
Oh, well, you can't miss the final.
Yeah, and I have a challenge really with Tuesdays in general, so.
Yeah, and I'm busy Tuesdays too. I'm doing some coaching.
Okay. I mean, we could do one. It doesn't matter the other day to me.
And
it's up to
I'm
you all.
gone May 8th and May 15th and May 22nd.
Oh, okay. So that's too many things.
Well, May 8th, I don't think we have a class, do we?
No, the 8th and
but
the 15th.
like I've worked
Yeah.
stuff around the current schedule and
Yeah.
made sure that I did everything, and I even already scheduled May 15th off because I knew I would be gone. So that I'm like out for all 3 of those anyways.
Yeah, because the 22nd we don't have class anyway, and the 8th we don't have class.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to throw it out there as an option. We could still speed it up a little bit in the June, but we can talk about that later. Just have 2 the first week of June. And then we'd have the second. Well, anyway, just wanted to throw it out there as a
Could
potential.
we do longer or that doesn't work
You mean longer classes?
on Thursday?
You mean like 3 hours instead of 2.5 or 3.5? Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Based on how the content structure, that could mess everything up for you. So
Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I can think about that. I can look at it after class. Yeah. Okay, I'll look at that. But anyway, I just thought that that was I would throw that out there as an option. But it looks like some of you have already kind of scheduled around stuff. So, all right. Well, I'll look at that and see if there's any way to make up any time that way. But in the meantime, uh, questions about anything that we have covered in the class so far, or anything about the mentoring or the level 1, level 2 process? Go ahead, Jordan.
Yes.
I have a couple questions. What I've been noticed, so the duration of the recordings we're sending you are between 30 and 40 minutes, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So what came up for me, and I'm noticing, I'm going through my notes from previous calls, is that for all the markers, that it seems really to be doing an authentic coaching session, trying to get all the markers in, or the ones that we have to cover in 30 minutes, feels a little rushed. I wonder if that is part of the product of having to do what we're doing in half an hour, and we're kind of like, fake it till you make it kind of thing. Just
I mean, I would say 75% of people do it in 30 to 40 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah, because again, once you get to an hour, like longer than 40 minutes, the assessing becomes, especially for assessors that do it consistent. I mean, you're not submitting them there,
Right.
but this is like historically speaking. It just gets harder and harder. You're doing assessment after assessment after assessment. And so people have really, the mentor coaches have really dialed in saying 30 to 40 minutes
Okay.
for the sessions. And then also it can make you kind of start to stray when you have when you have extra time.
Right. Okay.
So it's better to be concentrated, I think. But yeah, if 30 is too much, do the 40. Go ahead, Christine.
So we've sent in our first coaching call. And when do we schedule with you for our one-on-one for that?
Yeah, so schedule as soon as possible because you guys are behind.
Oh,
Everybody's behind on it. So yeah,
Okay.
you want to do here, I'm going to put the link.
Was it a problem, Cheryl? I was not able to find a time in the link that you sent that was anytime sooner than May 20th. Is that a problem for the second recording, or?
I mean, it's not. I was just wondering why. Let me pull my calendar.
I think it's because of the time difference and then my work schedule. There were some availabilities, but they landed like at 4 and 5 a.m. my time.
So what?
'Cause I'm 6 hours behind.
6 hours behind.
Yeah, so it's 12 o'clock or almost 1 o'clock for me now. So some
In
of
the
it,
afternoon.
yeah.
And what time do you need? Like this is a good time?
Some days, yeah. Yeah.
I
That's
mean,
when I sent you an email and I said, I just did it old school and I said I'm available after 5 on these days. But anyway,
I didn't see that. Okay. I mean, there are days that I can do noon my time.
well, maybe
No,
let's take that
not noon time.
offline so that we don't
Okay,
take.
yeah.
Maybe respond to the email and propose a couple times and we'll see what we can make work. Thank you.
Uh-huh. Anyone else? Yeah, if you can't find a time, just message me or email me.
How many
But
hours? How many hours do we have to have on our coaching log to turn in?
500 from the first day of your first course. Now, that's not for me. Like, you'll still pass this course no matter what your hours are. But when you go to your application through the ICF, it has to show 500. Okay.
And what information will they have to have as far as used to for the ACC, we had to turn in the email address and the name of the person. What do we have to turn in?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a little cheat sheet in our third group mentoring. So everybody will have what we have to enter. It'll have all the information for you. And we'll
Okay.
actually go over it. Like I'll show it to you as well.
Okay.
Yeah, Cheryl, so your times available for your calendar for checking in after, like for our recording is during my work times.
So you need a night, evening one?
Yeah.
What time do
Like-
you,
Yeah, so I get off so when I log on, like I'm driving home. So that's when I'm off work. So like 3:45, I make it home, my time, Pacific time. So
so
I
you
have
need like a 7 PM, basically.
yeah, is that what time you have right now?
Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, 4 o'clock my time. Yeah.
Okay, I'll email you or I'll message you through Facebook.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Anyone else? Okay. All right. I think then we are ready for the lesson and then we'll get to the coaching. So we have Christine coaching D today, so after the lesson. All right. um I have this like nagging feeling that there was something else that I was supposed to say, and I'm not really quite sure. I don't have anything in my notes. I'm just gonna say that it was done. All right, so tonight we are talking about our chapter 7, which is a deep dive into ethical dilemmas in coaching. And some of the resources that we do have for ethics, I will upload into the drive. Some of you already have it, but others don't. And the ICF has kind of thick document on that. But one of the things I did want to go over today is, and I will upload this as well, is that the ICF updated the Code of Ethics the middle of the month of April. So it's important to know the new ethics because your exam will have ethical questions on it. Excuse me. And so you want to make sure that you know that. So we're going to go over it. And then I will also upload it for you as well. And also the ICF website has changed a lot. So if you're used to what being on that website, you might want to, look it over again, especially when you go to apply. Okay, and I'm not going to read through these. You guys can read through it, but I suggest that you do read through it. But I just want to highlight a couple things. So one of the things they're kind of emphasizing here is that within the ICF ecosystem, which is all of us, if you're a certified coach from an accredited school, you're in this ecosystem. We strive to be ethical, even when doing so involves acting courageously and making difficult decisions that uphold the do good principle when it comes to stakeholders, which is anybody, right, that we come in contact with. So we're going to go over particularly part 4 with the ethical obligations of ICF professionals in different roles as coach supervisor, mentor coach, trainer, and student coach in training. And that all the ICF code applies to all individuals or entities falling within the ICF ecosystem, no individual or entity falling within the system may opt out of any section or part of the code, nor are they permitted to delete, modify, or amend any provisions within the code. So we don't have a choice in what we follow and what we don't follow, right? We are required to follow it all. So again, you can read through a lot of these, but I'm going to go to, well, we'll do the commitments. So there's nothing actually here that's terribly different. There's a couple things that they've added, but it's the way it's structured that's different, like how they worded it that's different. So the commitments for all within the ecosystem, the values are aspirational and a robust guide for ethical reasoning and decision-making. All within the ICF ecosystem are expected to honor and uphold these values in all their professional interactions. So we mindfully perform our duties with integrity and accountability by thinking globally, being courageous in our thoughts, actions, and speech, being aware of our impact and bearing the responsibility of all consequences. We commit to excellence through continued personal, professional, and ethical development. We remain alert to cultural filters and demonstrate respect for cultures different from our own through open conversations about cross-culture and multicultural differences. We maintain awareness of relationships and how they are influenced by factors including bias, power dynamics, and forms of systemic oppression, and actively address these factors through continuing education and open conversations. We cultivate our ethical growth and maturity through continuous self-reflection and increased self-awareness. If an ethical dilemma arises, we pursue assistance where needed to resolve the matter, and that typically would be your mentor coach, myself, your school, which would be myself at this point, or the ICF itself. And we respectfully attempt to communicate our concerns with others if we become aware of unethical conduct by them, and if necessary, seek ethical guidance for next steps. We communicate with those who need to be informed of the ethical responsibilities established by this code by providing access to the code of ethics. And we accept that behaving ethically means going beyond what is written in this code. So communicating with those who need to be informed. If you are coaching for an organization, your organization should know what your ethics are as a certified coach. So keep that in mind. It's something that you'd want to give them. And if you are already working with one, then you want to update them with the new ones. So the section 4 that I want to show you is that like this is really clear now. So the section 1 here of section 4, agreement for clients and or sponsor engagement. So communicate before coaching begins with coaching clients, sponsors, and or parties involved that the coach is in a direct relationship with to explain the nature of coaching, to co-create a coaching agreement regarding roles, responsibilities, confidentiality, financial arrangements, and other aspects of the coaching engagement. Respect all parties' right to terminate the coaching relationship at any point for any reason during the coaching engagement, subject to the provisions of the agreement. And then the legal confidentiality and legal compliance. So of course, we maintain the strictest levels of confidentiality, regardless of the role that you're in. You have a clear agreement about what information is exchanged and how it is exchanged. You have a clear agreement with clients and sponsors and other involved parties about what confidential information may need to be disclosed to the appropriate authorities. For instance, illegal activity required by law, valid court order or subpoena, or imminent likely risk of danger to self or others. The other thing is, again, if you're working for organizations, say you're an executive coach, and the upper management wants to know certain information from your coaching sessions in those executive coaching sessions, that's a discussion that you have to have about what is okay to pass on. And then the person that you're coaching needs to know any information that you need to pass on. So keep that in mind. If you are required by the company or by the person that's you're contracted to pass on information that your coachee needs to know that, and it's best to do that in writing and have them sign it so they have it there, right? And then also they can't dispute it if you have to go ahead and forward some information. So just keep that in mind. You're responsible for anybody that works with you, that to make sure that they are also following the relevant areas of the code of ethics. And then comply with copyright laws and recognize and honor the contributions of intellectual property. So these didn't really change too much here. Uh, so maintains fairness by being aware of my bias and addressing them so that I do not discriminate towards others based on race, color, gender identity, sexual orientation, socioeconomic status, age, spiritual practice, ability, and other groups, classes, and categories of human differences. So it is our responsibility, and we talk a lot about bias in emotional intelligence. And then the commitment to delivering consistent value. So just kind of recognizing if your coaching starts to go down, or the level of engagement that you have with your clients starts to go down, things like that, so that you can address it, and address it however it needs to be addressed. That might be different areas depending on why that's happening, but that's something that we are responsible for. And then that didn't change. Yeah, so just a couple things that kind of are updated now to give us a more global and it's really based on DE&I being diverse, ethical, and inclusive.
Can I ask a quick question?
Mm-hmm.
It's on topic, but it's a little bit interesting. I had it happen to me in the workplace. So I'm a guardian ad litem. So I am by law in Florida a required reporter of child abuse or any claims of such. So right, like it could be just a claim or an accusation, but not proven. Is that something, right? And it came up at work because the question was, well, by law, we're not required. And I'm like, well, I am. So is that something that you would work in? Like if you were going to work with a client, you would just make that part of your agreement so that they know that you're a required reporter of any.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm guessing it's slim that it would come up, but I always feel like it's better that people just know it versus are surprised by it.
Yeah, it should be in your agreement.
Okay.
And like in my contracts, I put the ICF code of ethics in there anyway, just for, I mean, it doesn't say anything about that specifically being legal, but I want people to be able to look at it. And then on my onboarding call, I go over that. This is, if there's abuse, anything illegal going on, whatever, I'm required to take action. That's what we're, they don't say reporting, but we're required to take action. So definitely any other role that you, have that requires that, make sure it's in the agreement.
Okay.
And that you bring it up. Don't just, don't just put it
Bury it
in
in the paperwork.
Don't just do that. Good question. Okay. All right. So let's get to our chapter. And again, it's a deep dive into ethical dilemmas in coaching. So coaching in general, right, is grounded in trust, presence, and responsibility. And so when we become coaches, we commit to ethical practices that basically prioritizes the client's well-being, their autonomy, and the confidentiality to the extent that we can. But, sometimes things happen in the world, in real life, that, are not conforming to the things that we read in our materials, or or the ethical code of conduct that we look at. Like sometimes there's no clear cut path in there, right? So things aren't black and white, and life isn't black and white. So there's always going to be ethical gray areas to look at, and it requires more than just knowing the code, right? It calls for us to be courageous, to have discernment, and to use our emotional intelligence. So this chapter, we're going to explore how to recognize and respond to different ethical dilemmas that might come up and using emotional intelligence to help us stay client-centered and stay grounded as well. So what is an ethical dilemma? It's what happens when two or more values clash, right? They come into tension, or when moving forward just is not clear, that forward path isn't clear. And so it might involve like conflicting responsibilities to a client, an organization, or the coach. It could be kind of ambiguity around boundaries or roles, issues of power dynamics, consent or confidentiality, and cultural, legal, or contextual complexities. So one thing to understand is that, some people feel like if ethical issues come up that like they failed in some way. That's not what I'm talking about in this, in this material. Basically, when these dilemmas come up, there are ways for us to reflect, to consult, get help, recommit to integrity, whatever happens, right? And we're not perfect, right? So things are going to be on us sometimes. And of course, our clients aren't perfect. And so sometimes it'll be on the client or the environment or what have you, the people around us. So just, keep that in mind that sometimes it's going to happen and sometimes it'll blindside us and we don't realize that we are in an ethical dilemma because it's something that we weren't aware of or something that we didn't pay too much attention to. And these, like I said, we're not perfect. And so those things are going to happen. But the best thing to do is when you start to feel like there's something that might be there, a dilemma coming up or an ethical issue, is to slow down and create some awareness for yourself or get some help from someone else that's going to help you work through the issue and see where the problem is or see where the potential problem is. So when we look at emotional intelligence and ethical decision making, emotional intelligence isn't just for coaching presence. It's actually covers all the different competency areas, but it's essential in order to be ethical, right? Because there's a lot of things that you're going to rely on for ethics that emotional intelligence helps you with. It helps you with self-awareness. So noticing your personal values, your emotion, and your bias. It helps with reality testing. These are the sub scales. So separating facts from assumptions and emotional reactivity. It's of course empathy. So understanding the emotional experience of everyone involved in the dilemma that might come up. Impulse control, where you pause before reacting. So slowing it down and taking things into consideration before making decisions. And then the flexibility. So consider multiple perspectives and adapt as new information emerges. So ethical discernment lives in the space between emotion and action. And we want to be able to get in that space and slow things down and assess before we react. And so this is a big area that emotional intelligence can help with. So let's look at some common dilemmas in coaching. These are just like you might come up against these things. So confidentiality tensions. So what I was talking about earlier, an organization asks for client updates beyond the agreed reporting that you had, right? And that might be, a manager that comes in and says, well, how is so-and-so doing, or what is so-and-so saying about, their performance evaluation that we've set into place? I want to know what their thoughts are, or I want to know what they're, what they're complaining about, or, whatever. What do you do there, right? So you have somebody that potentially is a supervisor of you as well as a supervisor of the person that you're coaching. And what do you do there, right? That creates a tension. Dual relationships, you coach someone in a personal context where other relationships exist. Example, a friend, a colleague, a family member. These can create some ethical dilemmas. Competence gaps where a client discloses like trauma, addiction, or mental health concerns. Of course, that's outside your expertise. Or even cultural sensitivity where a client's values or expressions conflict with your beliefs or background. And that could just be as easily as having like different religious beliefs, right? That can create some problems there. So think about this for a second. Have you ever sensed kind of discomfort about a client interaction with something that's similar to these 4 areas that I talked about? And if you did, what was your first reaction? Either how did your body react? How did your, what was that kind of first idea to to say or act? Like, what was that reaction? And then afterwards, what is your, after you kind of calm down, what's the intuition that, what is your intuition telling you about that situation? Because again, if we don't slow it down and leave ourselves space, we can react and make things worse. Or we could wind up doing something that we didn't really mean to do, or say something that we didn't really mean to say. Or, for instance, if there's a upper management coming to you for information about somebody you're coaching, you might feel cornered into telling them, and you might tell them, right? What was the feelings in the moment that you had? It's probably an emotional reaction for you to actually say something and tell that person what they wanted to hear. But if you slow it down before answering and really evaluate the ethical piece, like what is it that you're supposed to be doing and saying, and what are you not supposed to be doing and saying, and then pause and think and say, okay, so how do I react here? What's the best way for me to handle this? So there's a kind of little framework here that I put together to navigate any kind of ethical dilemmas you might come up with. The first thing is to pause. So notice your emotional reaction, the urge that you have to act quickly, and slow it down. Name it. So identify the ethical tension. Is it a boundary? Is it a power dynamic? Or what is that, right? Is it cultural sensitivity? What's that, what is the ethical issue right there? So during the pause, you're now, reflecting, right? You're thinking now. And then they reflect what values are in conflict. What does the ICF Code of Ethics say? So first you look at your values, and then you say, okay, what do the ICF Code of Ethics say? In external things like upper management, even in relationships, maybe, you can actually cite the ICF Code of Ethics, right? You can say, well, I really can't tell you that because my code of ethics as a certified coach and credentialed coach says, and you can tell them what the ICF says, right? Now that's not so easy when it's not those two things. Like if it's a cultural thing, then it's more of you have to explain a little bit more, right? You can't just refer to the ICF Code of Ethics. You can mention it, but you can't just say, oh, well, I can't because it's against the ICF Code of Ethics. You need to explain a little bit more.
Can I share something that happened to me that's kind of interesting along those lines?
Yeah.
And I think the coach thought it was an ethical dilemma. And to this day, I was like, I wonder what happened in her career somewhere. But I started a new job, and we had one of our executives that had an executive coach through the Centers through Creative Leadership out of St. Pete. And they really used they did third-party contracting with a lot of coaches that they used. And so I was new in my role, and I sent this woman an email because my boss gave me her contact and said, hey, just follow up and see kind of where we are with this coaching, right? Like just really general. So I reached out to her. I said, hey, Marcy, right? I'm, working with this company now and just wanted to check in on so-and-so's coaching. And her response was, she literally cut and pasted her contract and the ICF guidelines and sent it back to me and highlighted things in yellow. And I was like, okay, like I wanted to know like how many sessions you've had and how many you have left, right? Like the things that I really felt I wanted to know were fairly basic. Like, do you think that you're making progress? Like just super general. And then the one thing we wanted to ask her is, as you're wrapping up, if there's any recommendations for ongoing development, that would be great to share with us, right? Like those were, but it was kind of an interesting. So reading this, I'm like, she must maybe had an ethical dilemma somewhere and got caught in it. But her reaction to me, and I just never could get I could never get anything out of her. And I mean, I didn't think I was asking for like anything really personal.
Yeah, no, and that's probably it though. Something probably happened. And so now she just references the ICF Code of Ethics in the contract. And that's what I'm saying. Like, we don't want to do that. Right. We don't want to just say, I mean, you do want to reference it though, in that kind of a context, but you don't need to copy and paste. Like you can just say, hey, what kind of information are you looking for? Because, I can't disclose certain information because of my code of ethics. Like that's how I would have responded there and get clarity around what it is you want. Right. But yeah, that's interesting. And these things happen. So you can see these things happen. Okay. So the 5-step: pause, name it, reflect, consult. So seek supervision or peer input without breaking confidentiality. Again, that would be, something that you could come to me for, or if you need to, go to the ICF for it. And then respond. So take aligned action with transparency and care. Ethical coaching is about awareness, accountability, repair when needed, not about perfection. Okay. So there's some examples here. Your client sends you, now these are, I don't know how ethically challenged these are, but they are things that I think happen pretty often. So that's why I use some of these examples. So your client sends you a friend request on social media and later invites you to their book launch. Now, by the way, you might not think there's any boundaries blurred here, but if you do, what boundaries are potentially being blurred here?
I think, I
Go
think the friend request, and it's probably my inner corporate, I think that's blurring the lines of personal and professional, because, then you're coaching them from, you're going to see all sorts of information about them potentially, and versus coaching them from what they share and asking questions, it could completely change how you guide your questions.
Yeah, there's a potential there, right? Of lines being blurred. Now the flip side to that is, like for me, because I'm a business coach and I'm an online business coach, I help you be online and create a business. If you're friend connect to me, that makes perfect sense, right? But if you're, like Marcy said, if you're a corporate coach or something like that, that may not make sense at all. So the first thing is we have to see, does it make sense in our context, in our client's context, for doing that? And then if it is a blurred line, right, how might you respond in a way that kind of honors the coaching relationship, but still sticks to what you feel is an ethical stand? So how could you respond to that?
Well, first of all, I would say that you should have better blockers on your Facebook so people can't find you, because that helps that helps the whole process across the board. Be a little more selective at who your Facebook friends are. But no, I mean, I think it's a simple, hey, I noticed that you friend requested me on Facebook, based on the work I do, and so I can provide you the best support possible. It's probably best if I don't accept that friend request, so that we can maintain that professional relationship.
Yeah, good. Somebody have something different? And then what emotions might come up for you when you have to deny, the request? I think that's the bigger of the emotion. When you have to deny the request, what emotion do you feel as the coach?
Bad, mean, rude.
Conflicted.
Conflicted, yeah.
You all can call me. I decline friend requests all the time. People from work, I'm like, I'm not your friend.
Now,
We can be
also,
friendly.
yeah, well, and also if you're like Marcy, you don't get business from online either. So that's, there's a big
Yeah.
difference there, right? For those of us that are coaching online and that's where we get our business, that's different too. So again, you have to see what applies to you and your clients, like who you're coaching. Go ahead, Christine.
I think I'd be more inclined to just make sure that doesn't really happen to begin with, and just offer up my business Facebook right away for them to be able to follow me.
There you go. Yep, that's one way to do it.
My favorite is when they friend you and then they just want free coaching.
That's a whole different story, Lori. We're not going to talk about that. Good point, though. Okay. Second piece, second scenario, trauma disclosure. So during a session, your client shares past trauma and begins to dissociate in the conversation. So what is your role and responsibility here?
I'd be like asking them like, you know, some questions around, you know, are they, you know, have they been taking counseling? Like, is coaching for them? Like, they might need some more professional help before they can get coaching. So I would want to maybe check in with that with them.
Yeah, so really your role here is to help the client determine if they're in the right place first, right? And then to help them get help if they're not. Go ahead, Dee.
I've got a real life situation going on right now where I just did a discovery session with and she is an incest survivor. And this has, I mean, when she said that, and I was like this ethical thing, you know, and then as we started talking, she said that she had been she had been in therapy since she was able to get therapy for it, which was in her teen years and like, you know, later in teen years. And so she wants to move, and it gets worse. Okay, so she's stage 4 cancer and she's at end of life. And so she wants me to help her with a relationship that she has been a doormat for all these years, and she wants to exit this relationship and go out with dignity, with not being a doormat with this man that's done this for 42 years. What would you say about that?
That's not, I would say that's not coaching. That's therapy, psychology, psychiatrist, whatever. It's a mental health issue. First. Now, some of the second part that you said could potentially be a coaching, like you coach her towards how to frame that and create action and act on it. But the initial, all that other stuff, therapy first. And so I would recommend them out. I would just say, I think that the first thing that has to happen here is for you to address this part. And once your therapist, see, my whole thing is once the therapist gives permission to then be coached, then it's okay, right? Because they are the priority. And so they get the say, really.
Okay, but she said that she has been in therapy all of these years and she doesn't want therapy. She wants coaching because she wants to get out of this. And she has heard of me and she knows that she thinks that I can help her. And I think I can too. However, I'm glad we're talking about this because that incest survivor thing.
So maybe she needs to see a different therapist, right? Maybe it's the therapist. And again, I'm not saying that you couldn't help her on the back end of that, like afterwards. And that might be how you discuss it. But I think having the discussion around, is she with the same therapist? Why is she with the same therapist that's not giving her, satisfaction or helping her to heal? Like, that's the first issue I would be addressing is like, well, why are you still going to see somebody that's not, or why have you been in therapy all these years and and you haven't, and you're still with the person that you're not having any success with, like, and then what are the options? Like if the therapist isn't working for you, there's other mental health pieces that you can look at to help. And so that could be a discussion that you have with them. And then again, once they get a certain stability or certain permission from the mental health professional, then you could step in with the other pieces.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Daryl, can I ask you, since we're getting into this realm now, my understanding is that according to the ICF, we cannot, for those of us that are licensed, let's say as therapists and coaches, that we cannot combine both. Is that right?
No, you can combine them, but you have to, you can do both with the same person, but you have to keep them separate. Like you can have, for instance, if you're in a coaching session
and then do a therapy session.
Yes.
So in the example that, because that's where I'm going. And with the example that Dee was just presenting, let's imagine that I were working in a situation like that. I would then have to say, you know, let's leave that for a therapy session, basically, and then just try
Yeah, so
to
you would,
try a
so
coaching.
if you're not already in a therapy a patient relationship, then you'd have to bring that up there. You'd have to say, some of this, what you're bringing up, I feel is really more on the therapy side. Here's how I can help you with that.
Mhm.
And you
Okay,
talk
so
about
now
the therapy side.
I'm going to add thank you. And I'm going to add a piece of complexity. If some of the coaching working I'm doing is with a company, you know, that the clients hire a company passes it
Mhm.
on to me, and I hear any, like, you know, harm to self, etc. Where is the fiduciary responsibility there? And it changes the ball game when I'm asking this question as a therapist, but I wanted
Right.
to know from a coaching perspective what that is.
So from a coach standpoint, doesn't matter who's hired you, who's paying you. If they talk about harming themselves, you have to take action.
Mhm.
You know, whether that, so it depends on the severity and the level that you're feeling, right? You want to follow up with questions, get a feel for it. But, you know, if it's something that's imminent, then you want to, this is an emergency, then that's how you act on
Yeah.
it, right? You call people or you do what you have to do. If it's something that's a little bit more abstract right now, like it doesn't feel like it's immediate and maybe they're just having like ideation or whatever, then it's okay, I really feel like you need to go to therapy here. I cannot help you as a coach while you're in this state.
Yeah.
And you need to refer them out. You would not continue to coach them.
Yeah.
Now you could then say, you know, the company hired me to coach you, but I am also a therapist. And if you want to discuss that, we can set up a time to talk about that under your therapy. That's how I would
Like,
distinguish
yeah.
it if you're
Sure.
getting, if you're coaching with an organization.
Can I ask you and you all maybe, because I had a situation that was just skirting on that edge and we managed it. I ended up, reporting or telling my boss at the time, I don't work with that company anymore, but it ended up in a nightmare. So this client, she'd been struggling with mental health. She told me that she had a therapist and she'd been doing great. In our coaching sessions, she'd been doing great. And one day after we finish a call, she thought that this was a really happy, great thing to share with me. She sends me a picture of her toilet bowl full of pills. And her message was, yay, I'm so glad I finally, I ditched my plan B.
Mm.
So it wasn't really it wasn't a, intent to harm, but it was skirting it right there. And I for a long time was like, what do I do with this? What do, and I spoke with a colleague first, like, and she said, report it, because if she's ever going to do something. Anyway, so I did, called my boss. My boss had to report it to HR in her company, and they handled it so poorly.
So here's the thing. Our obligation isn't to report it to management per se, right? It could be, it could be a family member. It could be maybe like somebody that you feel is important in their life. It really depends on the situation. Like if you don't know anybody in their life, then I feel like going to the manager, unless there's going to be, it's going to be handled correctly. Like you just said, it was handled incorrectly once it got back to her bosses. That to me becomes this big, now the whole company knows and everybody's talking about her and everybody's talking about the situation.
Yeah.
And I feel like the better way, if it were me, in that situation, I would have had a conversation with that client again. I would have called them like as soon as they sent that picture,
Right.
would have just called them and said, hey, we really need to set up a time to talk. I really need to go over some things with you. And then on that call, talk to them about who is somebody that you can, talk to and show this to and work through. Is it like a current therapist? Is it a previous therapist or whatever? And leave it to them to take action with accountability to you of when that happens.
That's a great strategy, because then it's not that I'm off the hook, but I'm not the only one having this information. Yeah. Thank you. That's
You're
really-
welcome. Now, again, if it's imminent, then like, oh, this person's going to harm themselves, then yeah, if everybody in the company knows, oh, well, they also know she's alive.
Yeah.
But, in this case, it didn't sound like she was going to immediately try to harm herself. And so you handle it a different way.
Thank you. And it was, it brings to my attention the importance of having these, people that work in coaching companies that don't have a clue. Because if my boss would have known this, she would have said what you just said, why don't we call her back and then establish this, or, but her reaction, like, she turned it into an immediate fire that ended up being a traumatic experience for
Yeah.
everybody involved. So anyway, thank you. Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Well, and keep in mind, there's limitations on what companies can and can't do with that information as well. So that becomes, I mean, I know, you felt like it was handled poorly, but there are, some serious limitations about what you can and can't do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it is starting with you at this point, right? So
Yeah.
that's where you have to look at it. There's nothing that says we specifically have to do something a certain way. It just says it has to be effective, whatever we're doing. Basically, it's saying be effective in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I just, myself, just from being in corporate for so long, I would dread having to tell somebody's manager. But anyway, that's
From
just
your
me.
coach, we found this information. Yeah.
Yeah. That's sad that happened, but that's definitely a good example,
Mhm.
right? Of different ways that you can try to handle things differently. Okay. So I think we talked through enough. We don't need to use that as an example or use the rest of the question there, because that was actually a good example in itself. So let's look at scenario 3, which is organizational reporting. This kind of skirts on that too, but you coach within a company and the HR lead asks for updates on your client's progress. And this kind of goes to what Marcy was saying as well. So what confidentiality considerations apply here? How would you address a request without violating trust? You would have to keep it very surface level, right? So like what Marcy was saying, like I just wanted to know like how the session, like how it was going, how many sessions she had left, that's fine. Like that's not really confidentiality, right? Somebody's paying you to coach somebody and they want to know how many sessions you have left, tell them. But again, if they want specifics about what's happening in that coaching, that's a problem. And how do we address it? Well, you address it in an ethical way. I'm sorry, I can't tell you that. Here's what I can tell you about our coaching, and let them know what you can tell them, and say anything beyond that really would violate my code of ethics. And that's it. Like, now can some companies get irked by that and maybe try to take it further? Maybe, but I don't want to shrug my shoulders, but you might have a consequence of that. I don't know. You shouldn't, but and you probably have recourse if you did get a consequence from it. But ultimately, we can't let that fear drive how we handle ourselves or how we handle the situations. And that's just part of being ethical, part of being any kind of professional that takes any kind of an oath, right? It's part of adhering to what we believe in and follows what our requirements are for that particular credential or part of our life. And then some things like you could prevent those things. Like if it happens, you can prevent those things going forward. Now, this is organizational, but this is for any situation. You can prevent them because when you see these things coming up, address them in your agreements going forward. Because then you have it in the agreement, you discuss it on your consult before you ever sign anybody, right? So now everybody's really clear and you've addressed anything that has come up. So that can prevent things. Okay, and then courageous conversations in ethical moments. So when ethics kind of feel murky, clarity often begins with a courageous conversation. And this might be, naming that specific boundary, directly, compassionately, professionally, respectfully, but ultimately you're naming the boundary. Whatever you're required to do or not to do, you have to say it. You have to state it. Again, revisiting the taking responsibility if you happen to make any missteps, just, you know, whatever, apologizing, taking the responsibilities for it. And then also inviting co-creation around next steps that you are able to do. Kind of just what I said, you know, a minute ago. This is what I can do. This is what I can't do. You know, let's look at what we can do moving forward, type of thing. And I just have like a little bit of a sample language here. So thanks for sharing that. I want to be mindful of how our roles are defined. Would you be open to revisiting our agreement so we can make sure it still feels aligned for both of us? And then potentially, like, what are some other ways to address the examples above? So I left space for you guys to kind of write out your thoughts on there. These things, as you heard two of your own classmates, these things come up. So it's worth, or even three, if you count D's as well, you know, which is more on the personal side. So corporate wise, it can happen, and personal side, it can happen, personal coaching side. So, you know, play around with this a little bit, and, you know, get confident in what your stance would be and how you would respond so that you're not flustered in the moment, right? If you're prepared, you'll be better able to answer their questions and move the conversation forward, you know, again, versus getting stuck or hung up in that conversation. Okay, and then kind of bringing this all together, ethical coaching is not about always knowing the answer, right? Always being right. It's not about that, absolutely. So just be willing to pause, question, and then make a choice with integrity. And then as you practice more and more, and as you get more and more evolved more in your emotional intelligence, you'll be able to make those choices under pressure that are going to serve you and your clients best. So there's a little reflection prompt here that I also want you to make sure that you consider. When you imagine your future coaching self, what ethical qualities do you want to be known for? Because that can help you do a lot of things when you know what are the ethics that you want to be known for. What do you want people to say? Yeah, I know that Cheryl would do this or would not do this. Like, I want that for myself. I want to be able to say, yeah, this is what I would do. This is what I wouldn't do. And I want people to be able to point to me and say, I know that she wouldn't do this, or I know she would do that, because I have an ethical stance and other people know what that is. And so they perceive that, right? And this is, you know, 15 years of it. So I might be a little bit more comfortable than other people because I've been doing it for a little bit longer, but I think that everybody should have that confidence at some point, and you can't get the confidence unless you develop it. You know, flex the muscle, prepare yourself, develop it, and know what that's going to be for you. Okay. Any other questions around this chapter or anything that we've talked about so far? Okay. All right. So we're gonna. Well, let's take our break now so that we can just do the coaching and then do the feedback. We don't have any interruptions there. So it's what, 7:47, so 48 now. So say 10. So let's just do 8:05. So 15, whatever that is, minutes. All right. I'll see you back. I'll see you back.
Hey Dee.
Yes, hello.
Hi. So what's your time zone?
I'm Central Time.
And like how much like so I'm 5:05 right now. What are you?
I'm 7:05, so we're 2 hours difference.
2 hours difference. Yeah. Okay.
So you wanna let's see, we do need to schedule
Yeah.
this.
So I got your cell phone. I can text you.
Okay, all right. You can drop me your link and I'll be happy to go with your link, or we can just pop in a time and we can do it. And I could send you a Zoom link, or how would you like to schedule?
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah, you can always drop me your schedule and see if there's something there that works for me. Is it in Pacific time or your time?
Let's say, well, what's a good time for you? We'll just start with that.
Yeah, maybe just send me your schedule because I think we have to get back. I think everybody's back now. So
Okay. Thank you for asking. We'll talk soon.
yeah, talk soon.
Okay. Alrighty, so, we have Christine coaching D. So let's have the two of you stay on, everybody else can go off. I'm going to assign competencies. Hopefully you guys haven't done these yet, or if you have, that's okay too, but, merging there. Right. Okay. You are assigned in the chat. Holly, go ahead and go off camera and have your observation forms and make sure you're filling those out as you're listening to the conversation. And Christine, you have the floor. It's 8:10. You want to go till 8:40.
Hi, Dee.
Oh,
You can hear me okay?
yes, ma'am. What about you? Sound check, testing, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I'm just going to put you up a little bit here.
That's
There we
fine.
go. How are you feeling coming into our session today?
Oh, well, I'm feeling like I'm pretty overwhelmed. I've got a lot of this got off my plate today, but yeah, so there's a lot of things going on. Just kind of covering.
Okay. Um, what do you need to clear, if anything, to prepare for our session?
Hmm. Let's see, it's probably get a good idea to clear all the boyfriend problems out. We just had, I mean, and maybe I want to talk about the boyfriend problem, but I really need to talk about you. I was thinking you should help me to outline and write this talk that I have to do on Thursday. So I guess that would be what I would rather do. Just a little breathing here. I'll start with some box breathing. I'll go for 3. I'm fully present and ready to go. You know, help me with this talk that I've got to plan at the last minute. Things went south on me and it wasn't what I wanted it to be. And I just got this information last night at right before I went to bed. So of course I was up at 3 o'clock in the morning trying to figure it all out in my head. So but anyway, so here's the deal. So I set up a meeting for a, a car enthusiast group. Okay, and so it is hot rods and challengers. Okay, I drive a Challenger RT, and I use that in my brand as a peak performance. And so I use a hot rod analogy. And so these women enthusiasts, we'll call it their a Mopar group, and it's called Mopar Mamas. Okay, Facebook group, and I'll just say Mopar is CDJR, Chrysler Jeep Dodge, and so that is all of this group, and they call Mopar Motors Parts, because everybody had to come into the parts section for this whole dealership. So that's the definition of Mopar. So you're not out there going, what the heck is that, right? So anyway, so I've been helping this organizer, and she lives on the Gulf Coast, and so I've been helping her plan this cruise all the way up from the Gulf Coast to Northwest Alabama, where I live, and we're touring the muscle shows, the hit recording capital of the world here. And so I had this PowerPoint presentation, and it was ready to go. And so, but now I'm not able to do that presentation because it's got my brand all over it, and I'm not allowed to have a brand PowerPoint in this chart. Okay, so now I've got to really, but I've done so much work. I have spent so much time on this, which I was going for my target audience. You know, I could justify the time that I'm spending on this, whereas getting in front of my group, you know, speaking for free, you know, and making an offer, but I can't do that now. So what I need to do is I need to ditch the PowerPoint, and I need to bring in something that is not brand. It's just Deanna. Okay. But I want to do some fun things that will help teach the things that I wanted to teach without putting top talent coaching on it or put my brand associated with it. So there's going to be about 15 women there. And so I want to find some fun practice things to do rather than PowerPoint. You know, let's do this and play with this and give the analogy of the hot rod and speaking to these women to uplift them and to teach them how to crank up their Hemi within. We know what Hemi is. It's a very powerful engine. How to crank up your Hemi within to develop the mental horsepower to ditch stress, perform better, and have more fun. So one of the things that I thought of first is, as I teach the neuroscience of high flow peak performance, is to teach the breathing techniques when you get stressed. I just want to help these women have a happier life, so that was my idea. It is because the engine needs more air, more air that an engine gives, the better it performs. So I was thinking about getting an air filter and making the analogy of their vehicle air filter and talking about, you know, the breathing techniques that would help settle them down. So that's where I am so far, and that's what I've got. Any of that makes
Well,
sense?
that was a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, well, first, I'm going to I was doing a little bit of writing here, so I just wanted to let you know that quickly I am going to be writing. So when you see me doing that, I'm still with you. I didn't want you to think I wasn't with you during that, and we're in a judgment-free zone. So I'm hearing a lot about your presentation, that you have to redo it, this great pitch that you have. Love that pitch, the Mopar Mamas and what that's all about, and that you have to redo this talk. How accurate is that?
Perfectly accurate.
Okay. So when we're done this session today, this 30 or so minutes, what do you specifically do you want to have out of this session?
Okay, so that's a good question. I need to fill 15 minutes. And I need to make sure that I fill this 15 minutes because I did say that there was a presentation. So I need for it to be a presentation because I promised. Okay. So I'm thinking about if I could have like maybe four ideas that is just fun, and getting in front of, the women, and we're going on a cruise and we're driving. And so just to make it fun and engaging so they get to know me as Deanna rather than Top Talent Coaching as a brand. I'm a pretty fun girl.
Sorry, I
And
didn't get that.
I'm a pretty fun girl, and I like to keep it light. So
Okay. So we're going to come out with 4 ideas regarding this presentation. How would you say you're feeling right now when you're talking about this? Because I can hear it. You seem to be a little worked up. I can see you talking quite quickly. How would you say you're feeling in relation to this at this point in time?
I'm aggravated. I'm aggravated first because my first plans were shot down. I mean, and this was just a lack of communication from me, understanding. And I wasn't going to I wasn't going to make an offer. I was going to use my brand, but I was going to teach these principles, and just not make an offer. Now I found out that I can't have my brand in front of, selling at this church, which makes a lot of sense. And I get that. But I mean, this is happening Thursday. So anxiety, but I'm kind of excited about the difference here because I get to approach it in a more playful way, and more entertaining. I like stage. I like to be in front of people. I like to have fun, make them laugh, that kind of thing. So I'm thinking it might be a more fun way to begin with, and it might be probably going to be way easier too. But I just need to get out of that lockdown of something else screwed up. I laid plans, drop down.
So what's going to change for you once once you figure them out in this session?
A lot of relief. A lot of relief that I'm going to stand with my integrity to deliver what I promised. I just got to deliver it in a different way. And that's going to unburden me because, again, the ethical thing. I need to maintain my integrity and my ethics so that I don't go against anybody else's building code. Yeah. So
Okay. So let's try and get you to that relief from where you're at, Uh, let's take a little, how do I say it? I can't think of the word I'm looking for right now. Right now, where would you say your anxiety level is at concerning this?
well, I think it has come down from a 10 probably to like a 7 now that I've got those logistics and understanding what, first I was like, well, I don't know what the heck I'm going to do because I have put so much time into this. I need some brand recognition because this is part of my target audience. This is one of my target audiences. And I wouldn't have put all this time in this had I not known that I couldn't, it wasn't an opportunity to get clients from, I spend so much time on an activity like this and working. So the idea of not being able to move forward and get clients from this event after all the time that I've spent it is blowing my head. So it's stupid, stupid. Terrible decision. You know, so
How is it a terrible decision if you were unaware at the time that you wouldn't be able to pitch yourself?
well, because I should have dug deeper and asked more questions and been more. I just thought that the rules were is no pitching, no making offers. I wasn't gonna do that. Well, my PowerPoint, run through it. Y'all have a great day and see you later. With the hopes of is that when they're on the road, we're going to be traveling. We're going to be together for 2 days. And I'm the one that mapped out the route from Russellville the first day, which is I set all of this up and made the route that we're going to travel. And I will be with these women and have an opportunity to talk to them and talk to them about my brand then, you know, about coaching or whatever, but it was just this jumping off point.
How do you feel saying that when you say I should have done something in particular?
Like a knucklehead. Like a knucklehead.
What could you say instead of should have that would bring about a better feeling for you or something else that you could learn?
Well, there's always the lesson is do your homework, do that. What was the question? What was my lesson that I learned?
No, what could you, instead of saying I should have, that brings this negative feeling for you, what else could you be saying?
Next time I will. I know now.
How does that feel?
Hard. Old.
You say old?
Well, that's always the case. Is I didn't do something right. I didn't do enough. Whatever.
So it sounds like you're learning a lot.
Yes. Which means when I learn a lot, because next time, I mean, I'm always there to jump in. Let's do it. I'm impulsive. I'm excited. You know, this sounds great. And then after hours and hours and hours of planning, I'm going, oh my goodness, what have I gotten myself into? So I'll have to recoup that time. And that's when, you know, I was decided to do the presentation and do it that way.
So you've shared right now your anxiety is probably at a level 7. Once we have these, or you have these 4 ideas, how do you think that's going to help your anxiety level?
Oh, well, I want to bring it down, and I think where I can bring it down to having fun, playing with objects and fun, you know, instead of just clicking through the PowerPoint, you know, it'll be more engaging with the audience and it'll be more interactive rather than powering through like I was going to, then maybe the time would be even better spent with this more casual approach to this women lady drivers, hot rod drivers. Okay, so I think that would be exciting for me once I figure it out and go, okay, well, I can do this, this, and this, and I can do these activities, and they're going to have more fun, and I'm going to have more fun presenting. So
Okay. So as we go through our session here, and you're currently you've described at a level 7 with your level of anxiety thinking about this. How will us coming to 4 ideas change your level of anxiety within this session? Like,
Oh,
where do you
it'll-
want it to be at the end of the session?
Well, I want it to be, okay, so the challenge skills balance would mean that I would need it to be like 4% more of what I think that I can do. So having that in place would bring it down to a really, really nice 4, which is what I would need to have that energy to be able to, that confidence, but still have that enough to make it exciting and that challenge skills balance. Does that make any sense? Did that answer your question?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Sort of.
It did. So where do you want to start to be able to develop these 4 ideas?
Okay, so I want to start with, and I'm using the road analogy and the hot rod analogy, and I want to teach how to reduce stress, and I want to teach them the neuroscience of flow, the neuroscience of high flow peak performance. And I want to teach them how to use that flow cycle to be able to reduce their stress and to make better decisions and to have more fun and be more productive.
All right, so you've identified what it is that you want to teach or help these women to realize. How do you want to go about in this session figuring out what those 4 ideas, how you're going to implement those 4 ideas?
Okay, so basically figure out not a handout, but an object lesson, a mini object lesson to teach. I've only got 10 to 15 minutes. And so, for instance, okay, so one of the things that I want to do to teach to how to reduce stress. You're in the supermarket line, or you're sitting there at a train track, or and this is you're triggered, and then what can you do to reduce your stress in that moment? And then this will be number 1 is I'll make the analogy of the because they do upgrades to their vehicles to bring in more air into their engine so that they can go faster and perform better. So I will have an air filter, and I will talk about this. This is what you need, your vehicle needs to go faster is air. So your mental engine needs air as well. And teach what happens is like, okay, well, the sympathetic part of your brain is where you're at in stress. So we want to move over to the parasympathetic part of your brain where you get these juicy neural cocktails that are released, serotonin and dopamine. And I want to use these terms casually so it doesn't freak everybody out, but be able to really help people understand that this is a mental exercise that brings relief in the moment, and this is why. So that would be number 1, would be the air filter analogy. And then what I want to do next, I want to teach some more empower up routine. So And I guess we could in another in another coaching session we might could brainstorm. We learned that at WCI, so that's what I really like to do. Brainstorming session. Can't do that all day. So what can I do to make the analogy of how important it is to start the morning with wake up with feeding your brain, rather than, waking up and, eating potato chips, how important it is to feed your brain or to be more productive. Get your day started out, because we know that the way you start your day out is the way that sets the tempo for it. And also how you treat your body and how you eat nutrition, is a huge part of being able to maintain, healthy peak performance. So I guess we could do food for that one. Duh. Okay. I may have to get some carrot juice because my calendar is orange. So I could get a bottle of carrot juice. And feed your brain. Feed your brain. What could I say? Power up. Okay, so that would be the morning. That would be easy enough, right? But now what I want to do is teach what slow blocks are. This is what happens when you get stalled and struggle. Okay. And in the flow cycle, you're stalled and struggle, and you are just got to find a way just to hold on until you get to the other side of struggle, where you release, and then you drop into high flow peak performance. So the flow blockers, I could bring, well, I could reel them off, of course, but maybe bring a flow blockers. What could I use as an analogy for that? Can you help me out? No, you can't. Um, well, what I want to teach this too, this is so amazing. Okay, so this group, we identify with engines in a different way that other people do. Okay. And so I looked this up. And so when I realized that I was naming this, I'm on my third challenger and I've named every one of them. And there is getting in my hot rod, cranking it up, driving is more like therapy. Okay. So, and I've looked this up because this is strange, and these women don't know this either, and it would help them understand and learn themselves on a deeper level. Is that people who do this associate, and they call there's a neuroscience word for it, and I've got to pinpoint that. But then these automotive enthusiasts, they're called automotive spiritualists and mechanical um, sympaths. SYMPATHS. Fascinating. It's just fascinating. So this is one of the things that I wanted to teach them so that they can feel normal. Because if you do this and you're walking around going, why do I do this? And am I weird? And I wanted to help them understand that this is a really cool thing, and that it's a different level of connectivity with things around them in their environment. So
So I just wanted to take a moment, just to breathe for a second. You have a lot of great ideas. This seems like it's really flowing and going. Our session, we have about, just under 10 minutes left here. I wanted to just check in quickly and see where you're at with that, your level of stress regarding this and how you're feeling about this. It seems like you have 3 ideas currently out of the 4 we're looking at. Where are you at right now?
down to the 6 or 7. just making that change from had it all figured out. Now I do. Now I do. We know that part of the things that we all want to help in classes is to keep up with your expansion, rather than living in what was supposed to happen yesterday. And my new reality today is making that, I don't know, maybe giving myself some grace. And I am turning it around. I do have some really cool ideas to be able to make it possibly even way better than it was. And don't we know that things happen like for a reason and that we just make the best of, or we can turn things around and they can even be better than they were, right?
Seems like you're a little more calm right now.
Well, I guess so.
And it seems like when you're talking about all these things, you tend to maybe get a little riled up and excited. And what does that tell you about yourself, if that's a correct thought process?
I think that I never have a problem getting excited about things. Actually, people have accused me of being too happy. They really have, and that is really so weird. Okay, but it just tells me that I have made the shift now, that yesterday was yesterday. Today I'm moving forward in a better way.
Mhm. So we just have maybe 3 or 4 minutes here. So you've gone through 3 different things. How do you feel about that progress?
I like it because what it's done is it's given me, number one, my bullet points were what they were in the other presentation. And so, but now putting the actual items like the air filter and being able to be that way more engaging, and for as far as flow blocks, I could bring in I don't know, maybe, I don't know, a tree branch or something, and be able to get real creative about those things that I come in to make the analogies, and have more questions to ask. And that's what I need to remember, is to make sure that the audience engagement, that I have those questions, and can you tell me? And so I got to make sure that I put those in, because I was thinking I wouldn't have time. But audience engagement, so I don't have to fill as much time as I think that I'm going to have to fill with this, because I'm going to be asking the lady drivers to share what they have done, and has anybody, tricked out their car and made this engine change where you get more air into into your engine and it go faster, and so I think that it'll just lighten everybody up, and they'll be able to have more fun as well. Everybody wins.
I love seeing how happy you look when you're talking about this. It's wonderful.
Thank you.
So we're going to have to close here. What do you feel you still need to do to prepare for this? In kind of a 1 sentence, what do you feel you still need to do?
Oh, well, it's just a matter of just sitting down and going through my other presentation and just bringing out hit those like instead of giving the 3 bullet points after each of the categories, then I just pick one of those bullet points, the main thing out, and then sit down. And that's the fun part of it, is the creative part, it's like, okay, what can I find, to represent this? It'll be a lot of fun. So I think that moving forward, I can move forward in a happier, more enlightened way with the energy that I need to have for this high peak performance presentation. I can't go in there bragging. Speaking of, I can talk about drag. Everybody knows about that. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, it just gives me a lot more enthusiasm. I can, even though I screwed up, I can fix it, and maybe it'll even be better. No, thank you for that. I
No
feel better.
problem. So when are you going to carve out some time to do what it is you still need to do regarding this?
Oh, that'll be first thing in the morning. I need this in the can. So that I can practice, but and go out and get those items that I need to. So I'll be able to start on that tomorrow morning. I've got to get this fixed. It's driving me crazy.
What barriers do you think you may have for creating success in this area?
Barriers. I don't have any barriers because this is number one important. I've got there won't be, because I was finishing the presentation anyway. I was halfway through, was finished anyway. So it just going from that PowerPoint to this model.
Okay. What does accountability look like for you in a way that feels positive?
Okay, I could do this. Usually I always say, well, I'll hold myself accountable, but what I can do is, because I'm reporting I'm reporting to the organizer. And so I can report back to her, oh, you're not going to believe what I put together for a talk, and we're going to have so much fun and bring an airfield. I could, and she'll be when I share that with her, because that's who that I intended to really work with to please, because she is the organizer, and I want her to have this great cruise plan. I didn't want to have to spend 30 hours trying to do it. But anyway, it wasn't 30 hours, but it was a lot. So yeah, I can report back to Lori, and that'll be fine. She'll give me and everybody needs reward, right? So she'll be able to give me that reward, and oh, well, that's good, Deanna, or whatever. So everybody needs reward. So
Well, there's some grace I'm hearing.
oh, really?
Hopefully you're including yourself in that. So just in closing here, I'm just wondering, what was your biggest takeaway from the session today?
Well, I think it's just when you went into, I kind of expected just to jump into the 4 points, and it's when you stopped me and you helped me to make that shift and help me stop beating myself up for plan A not working, and being able to move me in the space of being able to go, okay, let's put that aside, behind you. What can we do to move forward in a positive way? So that was very important. And I wasn't even thinking about myself. I was like, just get it on paper. Melt it out. So that was helpful. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. How would you like to close the session?
Just with gratitude for you for being so calm and present and just being that calming force for this explosive person that I am, and helping me to just chill and just talk my way through it. That was really, really helpful. I love your presence.
Oh, thanks. Thanks so much for being here today. And I look forward to hearing how it goes.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, Christine.
No
Coach.
problem. Yeah.
All right, thank you both. Well done, Christine. As Dee said, your presence was, it was perfect. You were very patient. You were very present. You, very calm. You know, it was great. I really liked how you just walked through that. You didn't get excited, you know, you didn't get nervous, or at least that we saw, or I saw. And you just stayed there, like you were taking steady steps forward. So I really loved that. That was done very well. You showed lots of emotional intelligence as well in the conversation. So I think that was good. And I'm going to go around and have everybody share their markers. And then I'm going to kind of give you an overview. Okay. So let's start with 3, Valerie.
Yeah. So 3-1, focus and outcome. She established that that Dee would walk away with 4 ideas for her presentation. And measure of success. I think it was that her anxiety level would go from a 7 to a 4, if I have that right. And 3.3, she said, what's going to change for you? And Diana said, she'll have relief and be in integrity.
Yeah. And then I believe she said, where do you want to start as well? So that's the needs to address.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, great. Thank you. 4, Georgie.
Yeah. I think I caught, so the 4.1 acknowledges talents, insights, and work. She mentioned a couple times, like at the beginning, why I love the concept that Dee was talking about, and then mentioned again having complimented her for having a lot of great ideas, and that ideas were flowing towards the end of the call. I don't know if I got these right in the order, but that's what I got. And then in the support empathy 4.2, she asked her questions throughout, like, how do you feel saying about that? You know, when she noticed some shifts, she asked about her level of anxiety, and then later about her level of stress. She also reflected that she gets excited talking about those things, and then asked what she thought about that excitement. 4.3, I don't know if I got this right. I put the I can see you getting worked up, speeding up, how you're feeling about this. And then 4.4 invites to respond and accept the assessment that she did there at the middle, you know, in terms of the level of confidence at the start being at a 4 and where she wanted it to be. That's that.
I think for that one's more along the lines of when she said, it seems like yada, yada, yada. Was that correct? Would that be correct?
The summary.
Yeah, because she gave her opinion and then asked for a response from it.
Oh, I always get that wrong. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, good. 5, Marcy.
Yep. So coaching the person. So acts in response to the whole person. I thought close to the beginning when Christine said that was a lot, you're talking really fast and then asking a question from there. I thought that was really, she was kind of acknowledging everything that was happening, not just what she was saying, but how she was saying it too. 5.2, acts in response to what the client wants to accomplish. I thought partway through, she did a great job. She talked about, things are going and flowing, and then drew her back to her level of stress and how she was feeling, that they'd accomplished 3 and had one more item to go. Coaches the client, supporting a client to choose what happens in this session. She asked her where her anxiety was at different times throughout the session. I caught it at least 2 times. So I thought that was helping support the client. She was curious. I thought it was interesting. She said, you seem to get really revved up and excited. Tell me how you feel about that. I can't totally read my writing, but I thought that was, really being curious about what Deandra was sharing. And then just silence and pause. I have done my own coaching with Christine, and she is just really good at holding that space. And I think in this situation, it felt like it was calming for Deandra so that she could almost process a little slower. She almost slowed the coaching down, I felt, by her presence, if that makes sense, to allow it to flow a little, right?
Yeah. It's Deanna, by the way.
Oh, sorry.
Just so you know.
I was trying, she just put D there, and then I was like, oh.
Just use D. Okay, thank you. 6, Lori.
So she did use some coaching, 6.1 custom language. You heard her repeat words like relief. 6.2 and 6.3, I have the same example for. When she asked what could you say besides should have for 6.2, and the same was true for the emotions. When she was talking about like checking in on the stress, the anxiety level, and I have negative feeling. How does that feel? Is what my notes were. And then she also didn't interrupt. The silence also included no interruptions, which was really great.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. And then 7, Kim.
Yeah, so I got that she got all the markers in 7. Yeah, and so 7.1 questions about current. How, like, and she had asked, how is your current feeling? Where are you at right now? And 7.2 questions expanding on the who. And so what's going to change for you? And she was asking about, like, at the end of, like, what would change for you after you've accomplished, what you set out for in this session, right? And so, and then 7.3, questions expanding topic and what. How is that going to help your anxiety level? I can't remember what it was that she was talking about, but I just wrote down that question. And questions expanding outcome. Where do you want to be at the end of the session? And shares and explores. Yeah, so I just put down just the note about being riled up when she did her observation about how Dee was riled up when she was talking.
Okay.
And she got all everything else, open questions and concise language, and she allowed Dee to talk more.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then 8, Holly.
Yeah, so for 8.2, she asked her how she was feeling about the progress of everything. 8.5, she asked when she was going to carve out time. So getting that plan, and then what barriers might you have that get in your way for 8.6. She asked about accountability, and then for 8.8 she asked, what's your biggest takeaway? So figuring out and celebrating what they learned. And then 8.9, how would you like to close the session?
Yeah, good. I think for the applying new learning, she did say like, when will you carve out time? That's the post-session activities, but the 8.4 applying new learning, I don't know if I saw that. I don't think I did. I didn't mark it down. I don't know if anybody else saw it, but I think Christine, you were getting to it. But I think the easiest way to do that is just say, what have you learned about yourself so far? And then how can that help you move forward, or something like that? Like, that's the really simple way to do it.
Carol, sorry, I thought
that.
she did that at the end. Didn't
She
she
said
do that
that.
at the end? I thought she asked her how she, what she learned about herself at the end of the session. Would that not do it?
It was more in the middle of the session, if I remember. Kind of after
So it's
after
applying the new learning. So first you have to ask what the new learning is, and then how do you apply it? So it's twofold. So I'm talking about 8.4, where we're applying that new learning. And I didn't pick up anything that came after, like, how do you apply that new learning? I didn't get that. I didn't get it from the conversation. If that was in there, I'm sorry, I didn't get it. That's fine. But anyway, that was just something that came to my mind since we were on 8. But let me go back up to the beginning. So yeah, I think so I want to ask you, Christine, how you, like, we have 3 minutes. I want to ask you, how did you feel about it when you were in the session?
I felt like the session went pretty well, but I think my greatest struggle was I felt like she talked a lot and I wasn't going to interrupt her. And I felt like, oh my gosh, how are we going to accomplish what we need to accomplish if there's, a 10-minute discussion in between each question? So I think that's probably where my only real big challenge was in the session. And so I don't quite know always how to deal with that, or when to, like, in the end, I tried to I didn't think we didn't get to where we needed to go to, in the end, but the session had to end. So I had to very tactfully find a way to basically just steer us in a different direction regardless.
Yeah. So here's what I want to say, and I'm not going to say much more because we just don't have the time, but I want to go back to the coaching agreement. So technically, you had a coaching agreement, right? All 4 pieces. Like, you asked, what will change for you? Where would you like to start? So you have the importance, you have the, what do we need to address? A focus and an outcome. So I feel like the topic was pretty big. She did, she told you that whole story. And from that story, I would have asked another 1 or 2 clarifying questions before I asked for the outcome. Because I feel like you probably could have got that tighter, and that would have helped the rest of the conversation.
And so what would that have looked like? So what question would you have asked as an example?
Yeah, so I would have said, this is what I heard, which you said that you did mention like 1 or 2 things that she said. This is what I heard. Out of all of that, what do you feel is the most important thing that you really want to focus in on in this conversation? So we're saying, yeah, you have all this going on, but I want you to tell me what's the most important thing out of all that we can focus in on.
So basically chunking down in that very moment would have really helped the situation.
Yeah. I think if
Okay.
you would have chucked down, that does two things, right? So, especially those that took the level 1, when we talk about chunking down, that helps you to yourself to get focused in on that topic. It helps you with your questions that you're going to ask, but it most definitely helps the client
Mhm.
to get really focused. And so then when now the outcome was pretty, 4 items and changing level of anxiety, that's pretty, clear. I mean, that's fine. But getting really clear on the topic and chunking that down might have come up with a different outcome. Maybe it would have been more focused on the anxiety, and then your discussions more around emotions and reactions and, how to manage all that. Or maybe it's more tactical where we're looking at an action plan and we're not really focusing in on the anxiety, because now you have 2 different, very different outcomes. You have like this tactical side, and then you have the emotional side. So anyway, not that I'm not saying any of this is bad. I'm saying that it would have led to a more focused conversation to help the client to chunk down that topic and get really clear on it. And always check back on topic and outcome before you move forward. So what I hear you saying is you want to do such and such, and you want to have such and such. Do I have that right? Just get that clarification so that then when they hear it back, you're forcing them to listen to it and respond to you. And there might be a change in that too when you do that, right? When you get that confirmation. Anyway.
And would that have been an ACC recording?
Oh yeah, it's definitely an ACC.
Okay.
And it's, without actually scoring it, it's close to a PCC. Yep, I mean, it might be a PCC. I didn't score it. But what the part that bothers me is the topic not being succinct, which drove some of the other things that didn't happen in the conversation or weren't very clear in the conversation.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, but well done. All right, guys, we don't meet next week. We meet the week after. Please get your buddy coaching caught up if you're not caught up. And please get me your recordings and schedule your one-on-ones, because it's time for your second one and we haven't done your first one. So, and I don't want to have to do all 3 at the same time. That's going to be a lot for me. So get them to me, guys. And let's get them scheduled. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm not here on the 15th. Just remember that, everyone. I'm at the top of a mountain. Okay, good.
Have fun.
Thank you.
Cheryl, I can't seem to remember how to find the calendar.
I'm just gonna. It's on the announcements in UpCoach, but I'm just gonna email it to everybody.
Please, thank you.
I'll just email it.
Thank you.
Is there a way by chance that we could have each other's phone numbers? It just sometimes becomes
That's in the-
challenging with emails.
That's in the thing too. In the announcements, right? Didn't I put phone numbers and emails?
It's just emails.
No, there's just emails, because
Oh.
yesterday we had a technical glitch, and thank goodness my phone number happened to be in the Zoom link. Otherwise, Marcy would not have been able to connect with me, and we ended up doing
Except
our
I
peer
gave
coaching
Marcy your
yesterday,
phone
but
number.
it was a bit of a nightmare.
Well, yeah, I
so-
texted you too in the midst of all of that. I was like wildly, and then I found it in the email, I think, before I got it from
And I
you.
gave it to you in the chat, Marcy.
In the
It's
chat?
up in our chat. You asked me for it a couple weeks ago.
Would you send
Oh.
the phone numbers? That would be great. I just realized a bunch of
I'll do
emails
the phone numbers too. I'll send the phone numbers and the schedules. Okay.
Thank you.
Cheryl,
You're welcome.
One more.
All right, guys. Bye.
Thank you,
Talk to you
Christine.
later.